Just step drilling the shaft out. Got it running in back gear. I've started off with a 6mm hole. Opened that up to a 1/2 inch. Then went to 3/4. We're now at a 7/8 of an inch near enough. It's got to go up to 28mm and then be opened out for clearance. Just taking it slow and steady. Well, we've done the boring out, and let's just test fitting the that's actually the other end, but the dimension of that is the same as that end. It's a nice running fit. As I say, it doesn't actually rotate unless you're shifting the stroke length. Brain's not working today. So that's now bored out to that's the bearing size. I've now got to go in. I need to check drawing. It's 2 or 3 inches in, and then I've got to bore it for clearance. I made up a boring bar holder for my was it a Valentine? I think it's called. Yeah, Valenite. God, I could have swore it was Valentine. Valenite boring bar I bought used, then couldn't find tips for it, and then dropped on these, which they don't like interrupted cuts, but they do produce a reasonable finish on everything I've showed at them. The boring bar holder I made up because what I did have and used, I made up was that, which worked a treat up until I got the extension out to the full length possible, and then by the time that's hanging off the toolbar, it's a hell of a lot of leverage, and I wasn't overly happy with it. So while I bore out the relief, you can watch the footage of me making that. This is going to take some time. 2 inch thick, 6 inches across. The nearest thing, I want a piece 2 inch thick, 3 inch by 3 inch. This is the nearest I've got, so at least I'll get 2 bits out of it. Hey ho. Yep, took some time. Not too bad, I guess. 1 hour and 3/4. Not the best of cuts, but I've been leaning on it. So there's a bit of a taper and a bit of a bow. Anyway, I wouldn't want to cut that by hand. Bit of work now on the shaper, and we'll get on with it. Pin it down outside, so and it's also dark. This is a bit of unknown steel quality, but it's quite tough stuff. only sawed through the section with a hacksaw, new hacksaw blade, and it took the teeth off. Shaper's doing alright though, just taking it down to size. That's a 1mm depth of cut, 0.2 of a mil step over. That's the final pass cleaning up. I'm not looking for anything fancy on the finish or even dimensions. Those little chips are bloody hot and sharp. That's the first part done. Next job, square up that which you cut yesterday. Yeah, should be fun. Major downside of my power hacksaw is it don't cut a straight line, the saw drifts, especially when you lean on it. So the clean up's about 4mm, just over an eighth of an inch. Still beats trying to hacksaw it by hand though. This is the first side to be cleaned up. Taking a mil cut, and we're advancing. Yeah, mil depth of cut, and we're advancing 0.4 of a mil. This is the final pass for the clean up on the first face. Still taking a mil depth of cut, but the feed's been cut to 0.2 of a mil. What's that, 10 pound? Running about 70 strokes a minute, I think. Final cut on fifth side. Only I got impatient on the last pass, wound the speed up to give me 85 strokes a minute and destroyed the tip. So I had to regrind the tip, took it back down to 67 strokes, and we're doing alright. Bit of cutting oil for because we like the fumes. Not. That's 10mm. We need to go up to 20. That's a little bit fast. in the room. So we're up to 19mm. We're now in back gear and using auto feed. Just takes a bit of time. Would possibly be quicker if I put in a boring head into the spindle, but I ain't got one. I'm sure I could probably feed faster and increase the RPM and all the rest of it, but I'm getting to the stage where if it's working, leave it. Doesn't look like any of my drill bits cut square. I'll have to set up some kind of jig to grind them. Another drill bit change, and this should be the 20mm now. That's what I need. So that's the boring bar ready. We've got 135mm extension on a 20mm shaft. It took a bit of messing about because the 20mm drill drilled a hole that, for all intents and purposes, was just slightly, seemed to be just slightly under 20mm, but I think the shaft's got a bit of distortion at the bottom end. I know you can't see down the shaft, but turned out alright. I've opened it out by another 40 thou, so it's 8, so there's 40 thou clearance 2 inches in, and according to my measurements it's bored just past halfway, so when I flip it round and do the same from the other side they should meet up. Anyway, it's I've been at it 3 hours. I've got to flip this open, switch it around and pick up off this face in the chuck, and then go through the rigmaroler setting it all up to run true again. Hopefully this won't need any setting. That's the plan. Anyway, so far so good. It's lunchtime, it's 10 to 1. Okay, so we've reversed the item, shift the tailstock out of the way. Gripping it on the stub end. So, whether you can see that. That's less than half a thou. This is what, 10 inches away. And that's measuring, each division is half a thou, so that's 4, that's 1 below, 1 up, there's a thou, up to 4 up, so that's 5 divisions, that's 2.5 thou. That's after half an hour. I'm going to have a cup of tea and then come back, see if I can get it any better. Another 20 minutes messing about and we're well within a thou that end. At the chuck end, same. So I'm happy to go with that. Well, it's 10 to 6 in the evening. Spent all day on this. We have actually got a hole through there though. Not that you can see anyway. Ready to bore it out, and then I'm going to give this surface a clean up, polish up. It's a bit warm at the minute, so I don't want to bore it and lose dimension. I'm probably going to shift that along, once I've bored it, shift that along, pick up that dimension and then polish out the scoring that I got. Anyway, beginning to take shape, as they say. Nobody can accuse me of not using enough cutting oil. It's like a swamp down there. Anyway, so far so good. So this is the first pass. We're boring out of the free end. Got to bring it out to 28 mil. It's at about 24. We're not taking much on each pass. Running at 340 RPM. Quite a steady feed. Not in any rush, as usual. Especially as it's so flipping cold. It's been a hard frost last night. Very minimal transfer of vibration. So I'm happy with that pouring bar setup. A bit rough at the minute. suspect it's dragging a load of sludge. We are pretty much on the limit of what we can do, so that's just clear the whole that end. And I've just got clearance for the handle and the tailstock hanging over. Anyway, onwards and upwards. They say have your boring bar sticking out the absolute minimum. I think that's what, 1/4 of an inch. Just past halfway into the other recess, so I don't think that's bad. Yep, it's going all right so far. I'm just creating the clearance for the central section, which for all intents and purposes looks exactly the same as all the other boring we've been doing. Yeah. Sorry about the lack of Cecil DeMille. I've got a 2-inch mark at the end of the boring bar where I have to stop the feed in reverse direction, take another depth of cut. 3 passes will give me 40 down clearance, which is 20th hour side. What I haven't worked out is how the shaft that runs up the middle, how it's lubricated, because there's no drillings or anything on the other shaft, so maybe it's grease packed and that's it. Anyway, better concentrate on what I'm doing. Quite happy with the way that worked out. Definitely more stable. I might make another one, or even modify this one. Open this hole out to the maximum I can get between the 2 clamp bolts, which I think are 40mm centres and they're M8s, and then make a sleeve with a 20mm ID, but have the ID offset from the OD, that, and then some facility on perhaps the rear face of it there, where I can rotate the sleeve and adjust the centre height, because there's no doubt about it, that bar's definitely got a bit of a bend in it. You can't, obviously you ain't going to see it on the with a wide angle lens on a camera, but it's got a bit of a bend on it, and it'd just be a nice refinement. And then obviously I could make different ID sleeves for different size bars. Another project to add to the list. So that's the whole board. Another shot of a dark hole. Nice bit of clearance created. I've just got to break this edge and then look to see if I can shift the steady to there, so I can get some polish on this section and this section. So I've polished up the shaft. You can see where that's the flange that will mount to the gear. That's the face that it's running on. It's nice and smooth. There's no oil on it yet. Weighs quite a bit, that bearing. I've took out the worst of the scores. And you can see I've left. It's not a perfectly flat plane, but I think that'll be fine. I mean, bearing in mind it's only maximum speed, I think, is 120 strokes per minute, so that's 120 RPM. So I think that'll be fine. Next job is get it out the forge jaw, and then just bear with me. Where this thing fits on the end, I've got to decide how I'm going to fit that. It had one grub screw, there's provision for two, but so that was a half and half drilling, and it was drilled and tapped half into that face and then thoroughly into the end of the shaft there. Like that. So somehow I've got to work out, I'll probably ignore the two holes that are there and do another two opposite, because I can't see a way that I can, unless I use a milling cutter and to sort of the right size, and yeah, I think I'll just start from scratch, drill and tap two holes, and that's all that held that. But as I say, it's only driving the gear train that moves the carriage. So we're getting there. I think this constitutes probably the biggest job I've ever done on my lathe. Certainly the most complicated, and the associated most cocked up. Anyway, I'm happy with the way it's turned out. Just got to take it out now and clean this half pound of swarf that's up the spout.